Next up, Pulse Check, a snapshot of video game pricing. So this is going to be a recurring segment that Wes and I have decided to do. This is Wes's idea, which I thought was fantastic. And each episode, we're going to pick a game each. One of us is going to pick an uncommon or rare game, and the other person is going to pick a common or slightly uncommon game. And we're just going to discuss the prices and go over them really briefly. Wes, do you want to do the common one or the uncommon one first?
You know what? We'll do the uncommon one because I'm
All right.
really familiar with this game because I
Yeah,
loved
this
it.
is yours. I'm going to have you talk about this one.
So the uncommon game that I picked is Musha for the Sega Genesis. It was a top-down vertical shooter, and man, I loved that game so much.
This is one of the
Fond
more
memories of it.
expensive Genesis games, right? Like not at the top, but like pretty close, right?
It's pretty close. I mean, who would have thought that this game would be is so expensive? Because if we go with a complete in box copy, it peaked at over $1,000 in May of 2001.
Yep.
Over $1,000. But we spoke about how that bubble burst, and so prices started to drop a little bit in the market. Because then it dropped to June 2022. It dropped to just under 1,000 to 945. I mean, that's still crazy expensive for a Genesis cartridge, to be honest
Right.
with you. And then June of 2023, it dropped a little bit more to 863. But again, $800 for a Genesis cartridge is crazy.
Right. And
Crazy.
this is going to be like a recurring thing that we talk about because we always talk about prices. And if you guys haven't been paying attention, Wes and I have been talking about how they've really been going down since probably the end of 2021, the beginning of
Mhm.
2022. We really start to see prices of games declining. So this trend is just going to continue. When we talk about peaks, it's almost always going to be, like 2021, maybe the end of 2022, somewhere around there. And this all is related to the pandemic, of course.
Oh yeah, yeah, that changed everything. But that's just for complete in box. If you were fortunate enough to find a sealed one, it peaked at $2,500 in
Yeah.
February of 2022. Now even still June 23, it's still over 2 grand. It dipped a little bit to 2,100, but just man, that
Yeah.
game is so crazy. I think I have to be wrong. I may be wrong, but I think that has to be the most expensive Genesis game I've ever seen.
I think you're wrong. I think oh man, it just came out on the Switch, which may cause the price to go down some. It's on the Switch's uh you know how you can get the old school Genesis games on the Switch. What the hell is that called? I can't remember.
They're
Switch
like they're
Online Plus Expansion Pack.
right.
If you get that, a giant name, inside of there is a game called Crusader of Senti or Century, something like that.
Mhm. Yeah,
And that game, I believe, is the most expensive Genesis game, or at least I think it's more expensive than Musha.
really.
Yeah, I think the game's over $1,000 today.
What? Okay, let's. Huh. Interesting.
Go check. Go
We may
check.
have to. We may have to check.
I'll cut some time out. We'll come back to you guys in a second with the answer.
Oh, yep. You're right.
1709.
1709.
There it is. Stomps Musha.
Yes, it does. Wow. You know what the sucky thing is? I had that game too.
No way.
I had it.
Did you
I had that.
really?
I had that, and I had Musha. I got to man, my tragedy, man. It's what happens when you live in a house with someone addicted to drugs.
Mm,
Unfortunate, unfortunate, but
I'm sorry, Wes.
I know it breaks my heart.
I didn't
I
mean
don't
to.
think about
I
it.
didn't mean to make it worse. I wasn't trying to like turn a screwdriver on you or nothing, man. Like, no, I
Yeah,
wasn't trying to do that. I didn't even know you had the game. I was just mentioning that I happen to know that that game is very expensive.
yeah, it's crazy, 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 man.
I'm sure there's other ones too. I don't know everything, obviously, but I just knew that one off the top of my head was a more expensive Dream or
Yeah.
Genesis game.
So that's my pick for the pulse check for the rarity.
Yeah, and
What's yours?
if you guys real quick, if you're looking at Musha's pricing over time, the loose cart is minimal from the peak. It's only down 115.
Mhm.
It's going for about 275. Complete in box for Musha is down 186 from the peak. It's down
Mhm.
84 year over year. The sealed copies are down 204 year over year or 413 since the peak. So some definitely different prices there. Obviously, the sealed has the most impact. The pick I took this week was the more common or slightly uncommon game. This is probably a pretty common game though. This is WarioWare Inc. Mega Micro Games for the Game Boy Advance. And if we look at the loose cart, $40 in June 2023. A year prior, it was 50, so it's down 10 year over year. The peak was $56, so it was $16 higher. So not, again, if you guys are collecting, loose carts are a great way to save money. Complete in box, which is the stuff that I would care about and Wes would care about. Today is $120 in June of 2023. It's actually July when we're recording this, but I use June's numbers because July's not. July just started. June 2023, $120. A year prior, it was $108, so it actually has gone up a little bit. Its peak was $126 in August of 2022, so it's only $6 lower than its peak for complete in box. And then if you guys look at sealed games, June 2023 was 274. June 2022, 279. So lost $5. The peak was 317. So that was about $43 loss there. So they are going down, but it's not like anything crazy. And the complete in box has really held its value quite a
Mhm.
bit. I think that's mostly because those boxes are cardboard and people threw them away, which is kind of what we alluded to earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's WarioWare was so fun now. So much fun. That was a
That
great game.
first one, oh man,
That was great. It was a
you had the
great
finger
game.
over the nose and you had to shove the finger up the nose. That got me. I was like, I'm buying whatever this is.
And the funny thing is, and people think that we have like a crystal ball. It's like, well, how do you know what's going to be expensive? Even on the comic book side, it's the same question. Like, how do you know what's going to be expensive? You don't. You really
Yeah.
don't. You
You can
know.
find out like now you can find out like print runs and stuff. So if you buy games from like a place that's making smaller copies, like if they're like
Mhm.
this is only going to be 2,000 copies of this game made,
Yep.
yeah, that could help you identify something that's going to increase in value. But if there's no one looking for it, then it doesn't matter at the end of the day, right? There are rare games for like NES that people don't care about that really
Hmm.
don't have like a huge value to them because you know people have stopped collecting NES games at this point. The collectors already got them for the most part.
Yep.
That generation is kind of like been moved beyond. Kind of like what happened to Atari. No one cares about Atari anymore. People are starting to move past NES, and
Hmm.
I guarantee you there's rare games on NES that are not that expensive for you to buy.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it. It's just it makes you think. When we saw WarioWare for the first time and bought it, like who would have thought years later a complete in box would be worth $120? You
No,
know,
and that those games were $30. Those were
they
$30
were.
brand new games. So
Yep.
that game, it what tripled, almost quadrupled in value,
Hmm.
like in 15, 20 years, 20 years, probably like 20 years. But again, we weren't buying these like, oh, I'm gonna keep this for 20 years and it's gonna be worth three or four times the amount. No, we were like, I want to play the game, I want to keep the game.
Exactly. I buy it because I want to play it.
Right. So that's the snapshot for you guys, just showing you some prices,
Hmm.
seeing where things are at. Obviously, in my opinion, I'll let Wes speak for himself, but the decline is going to continue, at least for now. I don't think it's going to fall off a cliff, but it's going to continue going down a little bit. The thing that may hold its value the most are going to be your complete in box copies, especially if they're cardboard. If they were plastic cases, they're probably going to not be affected as much if they're complete in box because they were just kept as opposed to thrown in the trash. And yeah, I think you're going to continue to see the prices go down for a while. at least for the next 6 months. I don't see anything really jumping up in price. The things that are truly rare and truly sought after stuff, that pricing will probably continue to go up on a slow incline. But most collectors have already found that stuff, or the people willing to pay for it have already gone on to it. And I'm not talking about sealed games. Sealed games are completely different. But I'm talking about like complete in box games. Like if someone wanted to spend $600 on a Sega Saturn game or something, they probably already have it at this point, right? There's not going to be that many people looking for them. Those prices may continue to go up though, just because those Saturn games are more rare. They didn't make so many of them, so that'll probably continue to drive the price up on a slow incline. But the majority of games, I think, are going to be on a slow decline. Wes, what are your thoughts?
I pretty much agree with you 100%. I do think they're going to continue on a slow decline, but I think at some point they're going to plateau out.
Right. And I don't think
Um,
we're there yet.
no, no. I want to say, I mean, we don't know for sure, but I would like to say within the next year, I think we're going to see pricing kind of stabilize. We still
I
see
agree
make
with
some,
certain systems, yes.
yeah. Oh yeah, we may see some, some peaks here and there. But I will see. I mean, it's bad for me because that means I spend more money.
Yeah, I know. You're no help either. You're always pointing out stuff to me like, hey, look at this. Hey, look at this. Here's a picture. Do you want this? Do you want this? You're like my
I'm
crack
good.
dealer.
Look, I'm good at spending other people's money.
But it's fun though. That's why we do this. It's fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Nerd Enthusiast Gaming Podcast. We hope we gave you guys some good collecting tips. We talked about some pricing today and some spiritual successors. So we hope you guys got something from this. Please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. Make sure you guys follow us over on social media. It's at Nerd Enthusiast. If you guys really liked what you hear, we appreciate if you could support us over on Patreon, patreon.com/Nerd Enthusiast. You can support us for as little as $1 a month. And that goes right back into helping us get equipment and stuff like that. And we really appreciate any support you guys can provide. If you can help us out on the free side of stuff, you guys can just give us 5-star reviews over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That really does help us out if you enjoyed what you heard today. I just want to thank Wes for joining me. Wes, where can people find you at?
You can catch me on Instagram at Grendel5XBX and at Level Up Entertainment at the Hamilton Mall in Mays Landing, New Jersey.
Awesome. You guys can follow me over on Twitter. It's at FromNJ2CA. The 2 is the number 2. That's all we have for you guys on this episode. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you guys all take care.
Have a good one, guys.